Welcome back to another episode or live of FMF podcast. We back at it again. We
Yes,
starting with
sir.
our new format, man. I hope y'all enjoying it because we're gonna keep rocking like this. So y'all make sure y'all get used to it. We got the fellas, we got G, we got Trey. How y'all doing today, man?
What's up,
Man,
bro? I'm
life is
feeling
good,
good.
man.
That's what's up. That's what's up, man. All right, so today, man, we're gonna talk about
Let's go.
a little financial topic that been on my mind for a little while now, and it's is it better to buy or is it better to rent? Buying versus renting. All right. So I came up with this topic because we always want to own, you know what I'm saying? Especially in the black community, we don't own a lot, especially when it comes to land, homes, things like that. And we always know, like, it's better to own than to, be renting from somebody else, but not always the case. Not always the case. All right. But before I get into, diving into some of my thoughts and everything, Trey, what you think about owning versus renting? Like, how you feel about that?
Well, I'm big on ownership. I'm big on ownership. I come from where there wasn't much ownership, and that has been like a primary goal of mine is changing that aspect. Um, I'm looking at myself. I'm zoomed in too.
uh,
Sorry. All right. Yeah. So I've always been big on ownership. I think it's fascinating, but I also think it's a little egotistical. Like, it's my, like,
mm,
but at the same time, you hear it all the time. It's like, uh, what do you own? What do you have? If it's not like, if it's not yours, then it ain't nothing to fight over. It's nothing to brag about. You have no control most of the time.
Yeah.
I know you're gonna touch on uh control versus owning. You want to control everything, own nothing.
uh-huh.
I love that
Absolutely.
phrase, man. I love
Yeah.
that phrase.
But that's been my that's what I emphasize is, man, I want ownership.
Got
And what I like is I want to own to rent.
you. Uh-huh.
I
Okay.
want to own to rent. Like, I'm gonna get about a few properties, a few establishments and rent them out versus own just to say I got this house that I'm living in.
Got you. Okay. What's your thoughts, G? How you feel about the topic?
Um, then it's always sticky with me when it comes to owning and renting because I like the luxury of renting because
Mm.
if something break, you just call them up. Be like, hey, they'll fix it.
Mm,
You ain't got to worry about all the liability and all that. It's a good thing. But on the other hand, owning is always a good thing.
mm,
So I mean, my plan. I had to tell everybody my plan because if you tell everybody your plans, I mean, it's not good. To everybody tell everybody your plan.
mm.
But
More hands in the pot. Uh,
exactly. I mean, I kind of like
I disagree with that, by the way.
which one? What you mean?
The whole not telling everybody the plan type thing.
Really?
Yeah, because it plays on a fear based mentality. A lot of people miss opportunities
Uh huh.
because if nobody knows what you're doing, what you're aiming towards, what you're working towards, what it is you're trying to build, then nobody knows how they could assist you, right?
Right.
So I really only hear that within our community is us being selfish with our ideas. So I don't really like that mentality personally. I know it works. Trust me and believe it works. Like, don't give everybody everything. I know
Yeah.
that. Um, but you should be able to broadcast your ideas in order to you never know where the help can come from. If I never put myself out there and tell people what it is that I want, that I'm trying to, then I would never know or have as many resources as I have. And I see a lot of people with that scarcity mindset that holds them back, or they like, man, it's too hard. That's because you're trying to do everything by yourself. You don't know who's out there who could assist you, who could provide this, who already got this established and could, provide something and guidance towards what it is that you're trying to build. So yeah, that's my mentality towards like keeping the plan to yourself.
Okay.
Always give me a different perspective, man. Always, every time.
Uh,
I didn't think of it that way, so maybe you're right, man. Maybe you're right. But I mean, my goal is honestly, I would in some instances I like to rent, and then I wouldn't always, if it goes to a house, I don't primarily think it's 100% think that you should 100% like own a house all the time. If that makes it like to primarily own a house. That's my way of thinking, meaning that it's a great asset. Don't say it's not a great asset. It's wonderful to own a house because you can build it, you get the equity and all that stuff. It's a good thing. But my way of thinking now is I'm always thinking about income while I'm sleeping. So me thinking that if it was a way for me to rather, they say, buy a house, or for myself like a single family house and I live in it, or like buy like a duplex, or buy like an apartment complex, I would do that, like a duplex, and live in one spot and then rent out the other. So not only that I'm getting income, I probably ain't got to pay my mortgage no more because they paying for my rent. So at this point, I don't know if I would see myself just being like, all right, I'm just gonna buy this house and then I'm just sinking money in there for 30 years. And it's like, I don't see no point of doing that right now. I got that from the real estate guy Greg Cardone.
Yes.
Yes. And I was thinking about it. I was like, dang, you making a lot of sense. I mean, why not do it that way? Why would I just buy a single family and then 100% I'm putting money into it? Or I could buy a duplex or apartment complex, and I could probably live in one of the apartments and then rent out the other ones, and then I'm living for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense, man.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to bring this conversation up, because I know we hear a lot about, home ownership and, owning a home and, hey, get that house and all of that stuff. And that's great. And I totally support it. But people don't tell you, like, yo, you got to be ready when it comes to ownership. Because like G was saying, the responsibility falls on you when it's ownership. You know what I'm saying? So that's the reason why I wanted to have this conversation, because everything is about where you at in your life. Are you ready to take on this challenge? Are you not ready to take on this challenge? One of the things with me, I never had a car note before. Like, never. I always bought all my cars cash.
I'm envious of you, man.
Yo, I never, now, I've been through a lot of cars. You know what I'm saying? I've been through a lot of cars, because they're a little bit on the cheaper side. But to me, I just can't. I hate interest. I hate paying interest. I like receiving interest. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing with like some of the home ownership and everything like that. People think they really own the property, and this is a great topic because shout out to Wes, the Silent Conversations podcast. He's in the field of helping people keep their properties after they start like the foreclosure process or get behind on their payments. People don't understand, like, yo, just because you went and bought a house, you're not really the owner of that house yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yet.
You're not really the owner of that house yet because the bank still owns it. So the thing is, and this is why I want to have that conversation, because like G was talking about, man, your house is going to be like your biggest debt you're going to ever have. Your biggest debt you're going to ever have, yo. And mind you, if you're paying 3 or 4%, which is good interest rates right now, you're going to pay off that house about 2 times. So so it's a lot of money that's going out in there, man. That's getting that's getting funneled. But I also want to talk about the positive side too, touching on what you was talking about as well. You still building up equity.
Yeah,
When the market goes up. Now, if the market crash, there ain't no equity in that property. You know what I'm
very
saying?
true.
Right.
Very true.
It ain't nothing you could pull out. You probably gonna try to have to refinance or something. You know what I'm saying? But most of the time the market's going up, so you do have equity that's built in it where you can take out of it, use for repairs, fund your business, take care of bills, whatever. So you don't get that benefit when it comes to renting. And that's another thing with the home ownership. And then also the biggest thing we always talk about legacy and being able to own stuff and pass stuff down.
Yeah.
Being able to pass that property down, keeping the houses in the family for generation after generation after generation. And let that be something that somebody can always go there. Somebody always got a place to stay. Somebody always got something that's in the family name.
I
And
love
so
this. I love this topic because for one, I acknowledge that all
Hey,
of us
Trey,
just jump
Trey,
straight
before you
to
start,
house when you said ownership.
before you start, I'm sorry, man. I ain't gonna cut you off. I don't want to seem like I'm being rude to you or anybody. We got a guest that's trying to get in. I'm just trying to get them all straight, so I ain't being rude. I'm letting y'all know.
you good.
People think I'm looking down and I'm doing all this. I ain't trying to be rude.
Man,
I'm not
we
being
working,
rude to my
man.
boys. I'm not being rude to my boys. I'm not being rude to y'all audience. I'm just trying to get something straight, man. We still trying to get this, stuff
Dope
together.
ass camera.
G the background moderator and stuff, man. He taking not
Yeah,
only is
Right.
he a part of the podcast, he also working on the stuff behind the scenes. So
yeah.
salute to
I'm
G,
not
yeah.
being rude. I think once I get everything straight, I
Technology,
won't
you
be
see
moving like
is
this.
him.
I'm trying to make sure stuff. Sorry, y'all. I'm
Are you
listening. I'm
good?
listening.
You good? Well, go ahead, Trey. What you were saying?
So I was saying, I love how when we thought of ownership, we automatically thought of house. Um, there are pros and cons to ownership when it comes to a house. You think about it, it is it's not an asset until you have equity in it. Hopefully, it's paid off. Um, but that setup doesn't really work for us anymore. That 30-year, like who we looking at it like, like why would for one, people like us and a lot of us, it's just a lot of us out there, people like us are on the move, are on the go. I don't want to have to be stuck and tied down to one spot for 30 years, But at the same time, that's someplace that you can call home. That's somewhere that you can always come back. So it is a like a tug of war when it comes to ownership, especially when it comes to the housing. Another thing with all of this, like it is beneficial in something that you can leave behind, but it's still more that we're learning and in the process of learning to be able to leave that behind. And hopefully one day we'll be able to have an episode or further long discussion about how to leave assets behind, because that is something that is still pretty new to our culture. Other than, oral tradition and spiritual and moral things, actual physical things, leaving physical assets behind, we haven't really discussed that within our culture.
Yeah.
Even if it's set up, I've been going through the process with my family and my wife's family. When people pass who do have assets in place, who do have, and you need to have it in a will. If it's an asset and you holding it, and you need to have it in a will. All of that stuff we'll discuss. But even when it's like that, it's still deadlines. It's still taxes that come with it. It's probate and all of this stuff. It's still so many jumps and hurdles that you got to jump through in order to properly acquire what is yours that we don't know about. So if you yourself are not in a pretty good position, then that asset becomes more of a burden. You could possibly lose it in the process of acquiring it. So this also affects your moment of grief and cherishing the loved one, because now you got all of this other responsibility that you got to handle. And if it wasn't properly vocalized and communicated, you didn't know all of this responsibility was on your shoulders. You didn't know all of this was coming. So that's more of a conversation that we got to have when it comes to ownership. Yes, it could be an asset, and it is definitely a plus that we want to leave it down to our loved ones, whoever they are, whether it's, sons and daughters, or it could be nieces, nephews. It could be whoever. It could be whoever, grandchildren, whoever you decide to leave, whatever to. It needs to be, we need to learn more about the communication side and how to actually properly set that up and run you through the steps and the processing of it, because you can lose it within it. And not only that, in our community, what I've been hearing, the conversation is a lot of the kids, a lot of us, a lot of our generation, the younger adults don't want that responsibility. So what they're doing is they already planning on selling something that you done took 30 years to pay off.
I can't stand that, man.
Man, you done took 30 years to acquire this one property, pay it off, leave it to this loved one. And they like, I seen what you go through with it, and I'm not dealing with it. I don't have the money to rebuild it and do all of the whatever that needs to be done to make it look good. I got my own house and problems to deal with.
I think it's because they don't see they see the monetary value. They don't see the other potential. They see the quick fix. They see that, oh, I could grab this quick 100, 200,000 and I'm good. When they don't know, like I can, what Trey talked about earlier, own nothing, control everything. Big Keys in the building. So that's what we're gonna talk about. And then in a moment, we're gonna touch on I'm gonna talk about a little bit about the trust process to kind of help people with that situation you got going on. But what's up, Keys? Though, what you up to, bro?
What's up, fellas? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
What's up? What's up? Not much, man. I just got off work. I told
I've been birthdays.
So that joint in the chat, I put it in the chat. It's not working.
It might be my phone. I don't know, because the screenshot you sent me, I ain't had that link under my YouTube or whatever.
Hey, y'all check in the check on the live chat. See if the link is there, man, to make sure. Because I thought I put it in there.
It is.
It is there. It might just be a setting on my phone or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I see. It might be on a laptop.
And Keith, all of us got YouTube open on a separate device to see ourselves. Only thing you see is your mouth.
You've only seen my mouth?
That's it.
Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah, crazy. That's crazy.
And shut up. Y'all, man.
I'm trying to tell you, I only do it to get on your nerves now, but it's funny.
All right, yeah, you good now, Keith. You good.
All right.
And another thing that's funny to me, random, is all of us guys, Taj had pointed out how we always angle the camera wrong. All of us got hella forehead on this thing.
Yeah, we do.
How do you have the forehead?
What? Like, so that's not the point?
No, I said, how do you hide the forehead?
I got big.
Like, what you got, leveling higher or something like that?
Leveling and lighting, angling. You see, mine's a little like this, but on the screen it just looks direct.
How long you think it's gonna take for us to get this down pat?
I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. It's interesting though.
But look, hey, Keith, man, we got the topic ownership versus renting, man. What's your thoughts, man? How you feel about that topic? What's your thoughts?
Man, I'm like more recently, like I'm thinking like Trey thinking, like or like G was saying. I think I'm not sure which one, but it's like, well, I'm gonna tie myself down to this, $1,500 plus payment for 30 plus years. Like anything can happen in 30 years, right? And I'm thinking like, why not? I'm thinking more along the sides, why not have an asset that's paying for itself? and I don't have to go through that stress of making those monthly payments. I just got to keep the taxes up on it and everything like that, which is very much small time. And in the meantime, I can either, if I want to be in the house, I can rent a house without the interest on it and everything, or I can just rent an apartment and live below my means while all that is building, and just keep on acquiring rental properties. And then maybe by the time I have enough properties, I got that residual passive income coming in, then it could pay for my mortgage and I don't have to worry about it.
But here's the conflict. Here's the conflict with me. Where we are right now, the average rent is $1,500. So if you're gonna be paying $1,500 a month anyway, might as well be on something that you're depreciating alone, right?
Yeah. I mean, and a house is a appreciating asset. So you, like you said, you will get the equity and everything. Land just gets more valuable with time. And in these times, who knows how high it can go, with inflation and everything.
Man, I saw something that I keep on cutting you off, but I heard that inflation can spike to 11% within the next year, bro. That is crucial.
It's past 11 now, yo. Don't
it feel like it. The price of eggs say past 11.
Bro, it's past it. I don't know how they come up with these numbers, yo.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
I'm already.
I don't even think it's no measured percentage. They just say it, and then like, all right, because we said that, let's just raise the price of all these fucking goods and shit.
I meant to do some research. But what I was hearing is they got like a group of like 20 or 30 things they look at the price change on it. And most of that stuff, that like half the stuff on there don't hardly ever change. I don't know what's on there, but like half the stuff rarely changes or slowly changes. And then they got this stuff like the gas and things like that. So when they take the average of everything, that's why it seems so low, because the stuff that don't change that much, it's not stuff that we normally use. So that's what messed up the average and keep the average low, when it's really, man, it's over 11% now, man. So I don't know what they're talking about. But now we back on topic. But go ahead, Keith. You was talking about having properties that you own, but you starting to make income off of.
Yeah, but another thing I think about is like, I don't know, like Trey's the only married one on here, but I'm like, when you're married and you're thinking about maybe starting to build a family and you need that space or whatnot, wife, you want to be comfortable or whatever, secure and all that other shit, like what do? You can't, this ain't good times. You can't be good in that 1-bedroom apartment with 3 kids and the wife and everything. The friends that come over, you ain't got no space to entertain. You don't want to be living like that. I mean, but if you got the right, if your partner has that right mindset, like, live below our means, and we'll delay that gratification to where we can get to that point faster. Who knows what could work out. You can sacrifice and stay in an apartment. It ain't going nowhere. Shit ain't going nowhere. But
yeah. And that's the point I want to talk. Either way, for real, you I don't know. Hey, we not supposed to curse on the lives and stuff, right?
Man, say fuck. We fuck.
Hey, no, we trying to monetize at some point.
It's been 2 minutes. It's been 2 minutes.
Bro, we can do what we want to do, man. As long as you can't talk about the alphabet people, man, you good.
Okay, all right, bet. All right, yeah. Then you fuck then. You know what I'm saying?
Pretty much.
But the thing is, it's about because I remember I was like gung ho. I was like 100% ownership. Like 100% ownership. And then I was listening to a podcast maybe like 2 years ago, and somebody was like, yo, like, the only way I buy properties is to take care of my rent. I was like, what? That sounds backwards to me. But they was like, it gives them more flexibility. You know what I'm saying? Like, you do a year term with a lease. They, I think this couple, I think they was married, but they didn't have any kids. So if they wanted to move around and things like that, they only got a year lease, and then boom, all right, we can figure out our next plan. It gave them the mobility, but they own stuff. And that's why I talk about that. Own nothing, control everything. You want to be able to control certain properties. So like if you own something, and this go back into what we was talking, what Trey was talking about like why so many people got to pay real estate taxes and I forgot the tax, but when somebody passed away and you take over their property,
inheritance tax.
Yeah. It's another
Something like
word
that.
for it though. I can't. It's slipping my mind. I don't know why,
Probate.
but
Probate.
yeah, you gotta go into probate, but it's a type of tax though. Um, it'll come to me. Anybody in the chat? No, put it in the chat. But basically, to avoid a lot of that stuff, you put it in a trust. Like, and we'll talk about it, and we'll go in a little bit deeper detail, in another podcast. But just putting that in a trust, man, avoid a lot of this stuff because what you could do is you could set up a trust, and all you got to do is set up about 2, 3, 4 beneficiaries to the property, whatever you own. You could do cars, homes, land, whatever. If somebody passed away, you take them off and you just add another person on. So you don't have to ever worry about transferring anything because technically it never transferred. It always stay within the trust. It's just the people that's in control of the trust, the beneficiaries, are the ones that's making the decisions with everything. So that's why some of this the knowledge and and doing a little bit of research and also just talking to people, man. I learned this from a tax specialist, and his specialty was setting up trusts. And dude made so much bread, yo. In order to even sit down and start the most basic trust, $25,000 off jump, like 25 grand, man. But because he's saving people, think about how much money people gonna say. You got $1 million house, and you was going to pass that down to somebody else. All that money that would have had to be paying in taxes and stuff. And imagine if you just pay 25,000, you learn to put it in a trust, and now you just switching out beneficiaries, man. You save somebody hundreds of thousands of dollars just for that. So he dealing with big money. Rest his soul, he passed away, but he was dealing with big money people, and that was his starting fee because that knowledge was powerful. But he was lucky. I was lucky enough to be on like an hour and a half call where he shared some knowledge and everything with me and a few others, and told us about the power of having everything in the trust. And that's why I learned that saying, own nothing, control everything. So, yeah, man.